Very few things bother me, but one of the things that really grinds my gears is when people translate palačinke to pancakes, because they're not. Hi, I'm Tyler Zanke, and today I'm going to show you how to make palačinke, this Croatian classic, which is very similar to a crepe and not at all like an American pancake. As you can see here, let me hold one up for you. They're a lot thinner than American pancakes, where American pancakes are big and fluffy. Palačinke are a lot thinner and honestly more flavorful. So come along and I'll show you how to make this Croatian classic. Just like with pancakes in the US, here in Croatia, palačinke are considered to be basic food knowledge. That is, everyone should know how to make them. And there's no reason not to know how to make them. They are super easy, only requiring 5 ingredients: flour, eggs, milk, sparkling water, and some oil. So the ratio of your dry to wet ingredients should be 1:1 by volume. And that's going to be, your dry ingredient is your flour, and your wet ingredients are going to be the water and milk together. 1:1, so I have about 1 2/3 cup of flour, and then my 2 wet ingredients, milk and water, should also be 1 2/3 cup total. A lot of people think that you need to weigh your flour out, and for baking it's something maybe a little bit more important. This is probably the best way to go, by weighing your flour, but for something as simple as palačinke, it really does not make a difference at all. If you really want to weigh your flour, go right ahead. I know in metric, you're going to need 200 grams of flour to 200 milliliters of water, 200 milliliters of milk. So the 200 carries through. The eggs, I'm using 2 eggs. That is, so for every 1 2/3 cup, you're going to want 2 eggs and this will make about 8 palačinke total. The oil is not really a part of most of it. You're just going to add a little tablespoon at the end to help thin it out and so it doesn't stick to the pan. So that all out of the way, let's go ahead and mix everything together. So we'll take our flour and put it into our bowl and we'll sift everything through. This way we won't get any clumps of flour and it'll be easier to mix together once everything else goes in. Some recipes I see tell that you should do half the flour first and then half the milk, mix that all together, then add in the eggs, then add the rest of the flour and the rest of the milk and the water as needed. I don't really see it making much of a difference whether you go all in at once or do it like that, half and half. So whichever one you think is better is the one you should go with. I think it's just easier to go in all at once. So add through this, toss that away for a second, and we have our flour nicely sifted inside. Next, I'm going to add the 2 eggs, as well as the milk. Now, the reason I didn't measure out the water at first is because the water, especially sparkling water, is kind of tricky to measure out, especially when you have a little pour, like a pitcher like so, which has the lines here. It's going to bubble up and it can be hard to see exactly how much you have. So I'm just figured I might as well do this on camera to show you the easiest way about that. So once you carefully open up your bottle of water, you don't want it spraying everywhere and making a whole mess. That's never fun. Just slowly pour into your cup. As it foams up, there will be a layer of foam, fizzy on the top, and then you can see the water down at the bottom. That top of the water, bottom layer of the foam, is where you want to get your water to, so you know you have the right amount. And I did that perfectly on the first try. I'm actually quite surprised with myself. I am going to hold off a bit on the water. I'm going to put it in second after I mix everything together. So with your whisk, try to break up the eggs and just start mixing everything together a little slowly so you don't get flour all over your workspace, but it comes together quite quickly. It's pretty simple. Just keep whisking until everything gets incorporated and there's not a lot of lumps. It's going to be a little thick, and once it's thick and smooths out, it comes very quickly. Then add in your water. It will foam up a bit, but as you mix, the bubbles will go away because really you just want the water to thin out the batter a little bit, and the bubbly or the mineral water is what's going to give it some extra taste. So just quickly whisk the rest of it together. Make sure you get down the sides to get all the batter incorporated, and whisk for maybe just a few seconds. Anything, as long as it takes for the batter to become smooth. It comes together very, very quickly. And after everything is smooth, we're going to take our oil and add about just a tablespoon. You don't want too much. And whisk that in so it is all evenly incorporated. Once you're done and everything is whisked and comes together nice and smooth, set it aside for about 20 minutes. This will help all the water and all the liquid come into the flour and really help it hydrate. Leave it here for 20 minutes and we'll come back and we'll be on the stove then. So I'll see you then. Okay, so now I'm over here at the stove and we have everything set up and ready to go. The batter has rested, it's hydrated, and it's ready to be made into our palačinke. So I would recommend having some kind of workstation similar to the setup I have here. We have the batter up in front, followed by the pan, and then the plate where we're going to put the palačinke once they are cooked. So just a quick note about my pan is this is a pan which is specifically made for palačinke. You do not need to have a specific palačinke plate or pan. You can use this in any kind, make them in any kind of frying pan that you have at home. Non-stick usually works best, but if you don't have non-stick, you can get away with it as long as you make sure everything is greased up, maybe like some butter, ham if you have it. But anything that is flat and about 8 inches long is going to be perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on, turn on my stove, and let it heat up. It heats up relatively quickly. You don't want the heat to be really high. Something like medium heat is perfect. So here we are again at the stove, a little more close up. I have my butter, add it into the pan. It starts to sizzle, and take the brush and just make sure we get the butter all around and evenly coated on our pan. If you don't have a brush, that's fine. You can just take the pan and move the butter around. This time I'm going to bring the pan to the batter. We'll take about 1 ladleful, let it drip off, and add into the pan, moving around to get as much area. Then start to tilt to fill in all of the cracks. That was a perfect amount there. Okay, and just keep moving it around until it gets as thin as possible, and sit it back down on the flame. So as I was saying before, you want to wait and see for the sides here to start pulling away. As you can see now along the side of the palačinke, it's still pretty much stuck onto the side of the pan. So just be patient and wait a little bit for it to start to pull away. You can see a little pulling here and here, but that's not enough. That's usually when I see it and think, okay, cool, it's time to flip because I'm impatient. However, just let it cook a little bit longer. You will not burn it. You can see, especially up here too, it's really starting to pull away from the pan. And once you can see it pulling away the majority sides from the pan, it's time to flip. So just go underneath, pick it up, and flip on over. All right, that one was not as good as the other one as I have here, as you can see. However, like I said, it is still fully cooked. Let it sit for another 30 seconds on this side, 30 seconds to a minute, and then we'll just flip it on over to our side plate and carry on with the rest. Okay, so, and we'll just drop it there, and we'll repeat the process. I'm going to go ahead and make the rest of the palačinke, and I'll be back once they're all done. All right, all of the palačinke are now done in this wonderful, beautiful stack. So I thought I would take some time out to just show you what you can do with the palačinke, because there are very many things you can do. They're not just for sweets. You don't have to have them only for dessert. You can put, say, like maybe ham and cheese into it, especially if it's still over on the stove, so you can get the cheese melted, and then wrap it up that way with something a little more savory and not as sugary. but my favorite way to do it is as a dessert. So I'll just show you quickly the best, my opinion, the best way to eat these. So I just pull out an extra plate so I don't have to worry about everything over there. I especially like to have half strawberry jam and the other half Nutella. It kind of gives it like a chocolate strawberry kind of taste to it. That was loud, God. Okay. So let me just take one quickly. As you can see, both sides are nice and brown, but obviously this side looks to be not as nicely as the other one. So we're going to put the nice side down here on the plate, and we're just going to go half the side with the jam and the other half with Nutella. Pretty quickly, just grab as much as you'd like. You don't need a whole lot because it is thin, and we will end up wrapping them up, so you will get the taste even through just a little bit, but try to, especially with the jam, get rid of a lot of these bigger chunks, or at least spread them out enough so you don't just get a whole huge mouthful of just jam. So after you get it on just about half, then we'll take our Nutella as well and get that in there on the other side. Once again, just a nice thin coating so you can get the taste of the Nutella, but it is not overwhelming. I don't know if I have to say this or not, but it might be obvious. This is most definitely not sponsored by Nutella. I don't even think Nutella knows I exist, which maybe it's better that way. I don't know. Anyway, so once you have everything half and half, there are a couple ways that you can end up rolling it up. My favorite way is to literally roll it up. So just take the one side and nice and slowly tuck everything in. Roll, 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 roll until you get a nice little roll of palačinke. Another way you can do it, and I'll show you on this one here, is you can fold in 2 quarters. So take one side, fold it over, and once again, and it kind of looks like a pizza slice. Of course, this side doesn't look as nicely, so if you're actually going to do it, you would have wanted to flip it out the other way. But that is how you make palačinke. I hope you enjoy, and I don't know which one to hold up. I guess you won't eat these, so you will be eating this one, so dobar tek.